Hello, in this video we are looking at Bhagavad Gita Chapter 2 verse 13. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvananjara tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. I'll read it again with the text up. Here we are. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvananjara tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. I'll give you a note on this sandhi here. A line is divided into two padas, which are literally feet, just as we talk about feet in prosody in Latin and Greek, so that the line has 2 feet. And I'll just put a space here. You see? Not that, I'll put it here, as I have in the below. Note that when you are at the end of a line, you never make sandhi between the end of a line and the beginning of the next line. You get this single bar here, end of line, double bar, end of verse. Sometimes you make 3 or even 4 lines to a verse. So you get bar, 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 and then double bar at the end. So when you get to the end of a line, as I say, you never make sandhi between the end of that line and the beginning of the next one. Remember, however, that at a break in the line, the caesura, the caesura in Latin, the caesura we pronounce it in English, which is kind of a break in the middle of a line, a kind of a pause, the halfway, you do make the sandhi in Sanskrit poetry. And that is why here, tata dehantara prapti, pause, dhira tatra namuhyati, dhiras tatra namuhyati. So this praptihi, followed by the voice consonant, the visarga becomes r by standard rules of sandhi before the following voiced consonant, even though it's at the break in the middle of the line. Remember, it's in the middle of the line, the break, you do apply sandhi. And as we know, if the visarga is preceded by the I, U, visarga followed by a voiced consonant like that, the visarga, the subdotted H, the H sound, will become R. That's why dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. So we'll analyze this verse. We've got the correlatives here. We've got the yatha, just as, or just as, tata, thus, in that way, as and so. As I predicted, so it came to be. That's the yatha tata. And it can also mean just as we see one thing happening over there, so we see the same thing happening over there. So yatha, just as, asmin dehe. You can separate the asman in this dehe body. These are the locatives. You can say yatha asmin dehe, just as in this body. And as I say, you can put the yatha in between. Asmin yatha dehe, just as in this body. Dehino, of the embodied. So deha, body. Dehin means possessed of a body. And the word is frequently used, and we see it very often in the Bhagavad Gita, means one who possesses a body. We could almost translate it as something like, or understand it as something like the embodied spirit, the possessor of the body. The point, of course, being made here is that the real us is not the body. The real us happens to be in possession of this body at the present time, and the simile is given to clothes. You are not your clothes. You have clothes. They get worn out. You get new clothes. I forget which verse it is, but that exact imagery is used. That just often we wear clothes. They get worn out. Cast them off, and you get new clothes. Exactly the same. The dehin, the possessor of the body, does that with his deha, with the actual physical body. So yatha, just as asmin dehe, in this body, dehino, the dehin, stem form is the possessor of a body. It's consonantal declension, so the genitive singular ends in aha. So dehina, of the body possessor. Then understand the verb is, which is not expressed. Of the body possessor, there is Kaumaram Yovanam Jara. There is boyhood, Kaumaram, Yovanam, youth, Jara, old age. That's our one that's going to cognate with our English word, or the Greek geros, old, from which we get geriatric, medicine for the aged. This is these two words, Kaumaram, Yauvanam, they are vridhi derivatives. We have the Kumara, a word of several meanings. It can mean a young man or even a prince sometimes. But here it means a boy. So Kumara is a boy, and Kaumara, it makes an abstract noun, boyhood, the period of being a boy. Yuvan is a youth, directly cognate with the Latin juven and the Italian giovane, in English juvenile. This becomes a y in Latin, same as in Sanskrit. A j in Italian and a j written with a j pronounced as a j in English. So kaumaram yauvanam, so yuvan yauvanam, the period of being a youth, therefore youth in the abstract sense, meaning the period of youth. And jara just means old age. The original meaning is something like decay. We have jara marana, same in Sanskrit and Pali, often meaning old age and death. Jara marana. And jara, the dukkha, the jara marana, dukkha. So yatha, just as. But by the way, one other thing, dehino genitive, kaumaram, that's a nominative neuter singular, of the dehin, of the embodied spirit, kaumaram, boyhood, means the verb to be is not expressed. So it would be dehino kaumaram asti, you could say. There is boyhood of the dehin, of the embodied spirit. Just means the embodied spirit has or possesses. Here it means something like goes through, but it essentially means has. So just as boyhood is of the embodied spirit, means just as the embodied spirit has or goes through boyhood. So yatha, just as asmin dehe, in this body, dehuno, of the body possessor, of the dehin, then now supply there is, Kaumaram, boyhood, Yauvanam, youth, period of youth, Jara, old age. Now we go on to the next line. Tata, remember, yata in the first line, just as, tata, in the same way, in that same way. How do I put it? Yeah, thus, in the same way. Dehantara praptihi. So deha, body, antara, When used as the second member of a compound, here we can prapti. So it's a three-member compound, but just look at these two elements, deha antara, dehantara. When antara is the second member of a compound, it usually means other. So dehantara means another body, and prapti is the obtaining of something. So dehantara prapti, body other obtaining. In other words, getting another body. So tata dehantara prapti. So equally, dehina, of the embodied spirit, the following things happen, just as boyhood, youth, and old age happen to or are possessed by the dehin. Tata also, just in that same way, there's another thing that happens, and that is dehantara prapti, the getting of another body. Dhira tatra namuhyati. The dhira, from the root dhi, ultimately there's from dhi and dhya, they were originally from the same root. Dhi is the mind or intelligence. When I said dhi and dhya from the same root, I should more accurately have said dhya appears to be a strengthened or extended form of the dhi root. So dhya, so dhi is just the mind. Dhya is to place the mind on something, and then by extension it specifically means to meditate, and it's from that dhya we get the word dhyana, and in Pali jhana. But here it's the simpler form of the root. The root form is just dhi, to think, and as a noun it means uh, intelligence actually. And this then with the adjectival suffix ra, there are quite a number of roots where you add a ra to make an adjective. So dhira, intelligence possessing, therefore an intelligent person, a wise person. So the dhira just means the wise person. How have I put it here? The wise person, yeah. Tatra, there. Originally that word meant there in the spatial sense, there in that place. Here it has the meaning of in this regard, on this matter, on this point. So the dhirastatra namuhyati, the intelligent person, is not confused or bewildered in this respect, or has no delusion about this. This muhyati, from our root muh, meaning to be deluded, bewildered. Originally, it had the idea of a confusion of mind. It is a class 4 verb in Sanskrit, which means it conjugates, you put in a yin, not mohati, but muhyati. It makes the verbal noun regularly as moha, which is our very well known lobha dvesha moha, in Pali lobha dosa moha, lobha and moha being identical in Sanskrit and Pali. The lobha dosa moha in Pali and lobha dvesha moha in Sanskrit, commonly being translated as greed, hatred, and delusion, the three fires. It's that same moha in Pali and Sanskrit for these three fires. So here we see it in its verb form. So is not bewildered, is not deluded. The wise man is not deluded in this respect. So I will read it through once more. One thing, of course, note that with sandhi, regular sandhi, the dehinaha, the aha, followed by another word beginning in a short a, dehinaha asmin, they both merge into an o, so dehinosmin. And for those of you who have studied the script, we see this sign here. It looks a bit like a capital S, the avagraha, literally the grabbing out, the taking out. So this sign that looks like a capital S, which is the one that we typically represent by an apostrophe in the Roman script, that is a sign that the vowel a has been dropped off. You know, the avagraha they're taking out in sandhi, by sandhi. So dehinaha asmin, dehinosmin. So I'll read it now. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvananjara tatha dehantara praptis. Sorry. Tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. I'll read it once more. Try and get it right this time. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvananjara tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. And that's it on this video.